just like honey, sweet to taste on burning lips. Wanna lie beneath the water, feeling icy fingertips. Soothing nectar to my body, wash the image from my eyes. Dirty streets of hungry people, drink the water, dry your eyes. Let's not look at the reflections, listen to the music made. Drinking water's ease the mind, thoughts of you begin to fade.
The nation is under siege. The nation is under siege.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. It's Divided We Stand, but it's not Sunday night. It's not even 8 o'clock. It's a special edition of Divided We Stand. It's the post-debate summary and discussion in which we hope that you will participate. This, of course, is Divided We Stand. We are on YouTube and on Facebook. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet on YouTube, we ask that you do. We are not a monetized channel, which means we're not looking to make money on anybody. This is simply because we mean it. And then, of course, we have our Facebook group page, very, very successful group page. If you're on Facebook, we ask that you join us and become a member and share to your friends. Maybe they like to commiserate about the current political situation in this country. You can find us on Facebook by just simply doing a search for Divided We Stand. You'll see a picture of Kamala Harris, and that'll be that. So we'd like to see you all. I think I'd begin our introduction here by making an apology. I must admit, I did know we were going to have this show on this Wednesday night after the vice presidential debate, but I did fall asleep halfway through the debate. I can't explain it other than, I don't know if I got bored, but I went to a snooze fest. I did watch about a half an hour. So I'm admitting this. I'm also admitting that thankfully my co-host David Price was nice enough to have summarized what I missed. So when we do the show tonight, I'll be up to date and I'd like to share with you the summary from our David Price. If you're unfamiliar with David Price, he is a former educator, podcaster, journalist, troublemaker, everything. He is just about everything. He's not a dilettante, but he is something. But in any case, let's get serious. In all seriousness, Dave did do me a favor by summarizing the second half of the debate, which I'm going to share with you tonight. And it's right here. Yes, you can see that text. So all of you out there, and quite a few of you are there right now, this is the summary. So please sit back and relax, smoke a cigar, have a drink, whatever you have to do. Watch it in your bathtub. I don't care. So here it was. Dave said, so you missed the part where Vance had on-stage sex with not one, but two couches. Then there was the strange moment when Donald Trump walked across the stage, barking like a dog, howling, "You won't eat me, Haitians. No, you won't eat me." So I am absolutely stunned because I missed the most exciting part of the debate. Who would have known that it was going to go that far? Because it was quite pedestrian up until then. But thankfully, Dave's keen eye, he stayed awake and he watched it. And what better introduction than that to introduce my co-host and good friend, and whatever he really is, we don't really know, but that would be our David Price now. And here he is. Dave, this sex on the debate, the couch, how did that happen?
I don't have a clue what you're talking about. I think you are to divide we stand. I am Tim Waltz, just a common man. You wrote that yourself, obviously. And you are J.D. Vance, and by that I mean,
well, he holds himself accountable, doesn't he, folks?
Who?
Sounds like Trump.
No. I'm just telling the people the truth. Unfortunately, you don't. All right. So, first of all, I appreciate your honesty. Now, why don't you tell the people why we're going on at 8:30 instead of 8? Why don't you be completely honest? Reveal your innermost, darkest secrets.
It could have been 9 o'clock. Well, first of all, there's a lot of things going on. It is
where?
Everywhere in the world. But right now, in my world, there's a lot going on. I have a unit test I have to give tomorrow to my students to make sure that's correct.
Do you have it done?
It's done. I did do it. I forgot to tell you. I was working on that.
So what you're saying
I did my exercise, which I faithfully do every
day. Stop for a minute. I have to talk over you like Vance did last night. Now, here's the thing.
I thought you said he was having sex last night.
I didn't say anything like that. I've no idea where you got this. The unit test is very important. Would you agree?
Oh, yes.
For the
if
students?
I don't give that test tomorrow, I'm in trouble.
Well, the thing is, Brian, why would you wait until the day before? Why wouldn't you do it, like, say, 3 or 4 days ago so you could time to reflect
that's a good
on
question.
It, make sure it was like, I know.
My whole point is, and you know this, is that as a teacher, you have to go with the flow, so to speak. And I have to see where my students are at that particular moment. So when I give that
They're
test,
sitting in their desks. That's where they are.
That's location. I'm talking about up here, okay? A mental state. What have they...
failing mental state?
Yeah. Well, you know as well as I do, you have to cater that test to what the students have done up until that point. And I had to wait till tonight to work through that. It's done. We're good. I also had to work out. I also had to have dinner and blah, 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 blah. We're lucky we didn't go on at 9, fella. So you're very lucky. What's the difference to you between 8 o'clock and 8:30, really?
I care about the people. I care about the truth. I care about being accurate. You said 8 p.m.
Thursday night football goes on at 8:30. Why can't we do it at 8:30?
Thursday night football is on now? I thought it was Wednesday.
It was? I don't know. I thought it's on Thursday night. They have Thursday night football.
Yeah, but today's Wednesday. You don't even know what day
it is. No, I'm
just
just saying they go on at 8:30. So what's the diff?
God. See, Brian, this is the way a debate's supposed to be, not the love fest last night. All right,
it was a love fest. What I saw.
I want to start and give maybe people something that they didn't see or didn't really pay attention to, which are 2 things before the debate, both debate related. Have you seen any video of the crowds? I know. Have you ever seen any video of the people outside? Obviously, in two camps for the video. Have you for the debate? Have
No,
you seen
I
any of that,
didn't.
Brian?
I did not.
Okay, it's out there, and it was really a clash of two sides. The Harris Waltz holding signs, and of course the Trump people holding signs. But I was really fascinated with how the behavior of the Trump fans encapsulates all that's wrong with being a Trump fan. What they it was done by somebody with a cell phone, so it's not grade A pictures, but it was good. And so the first thing you see is a man screaming at the top of his lungs, saying, "We're gay and we support Trump." And he had that on his shirt. Fine, right?
Do you
But
think he
then
was
this-
actually gay, or do you think he was just doing that?
Absolutely not. Then the second thing is you see a woman, and she is a woman. And what she starts by doing is she drops her pants and moons. Now, this is on the public streets of New York, moons the Harris supporters, but at the same time, she's spanking herself in the ass. Now, I guess what she was trying to convey is, this is what I want to do to you. I'm not real sure. And of course, then the people behind her, the other, took up the chant of "kiss my ass, kiss my ass." And that inspired her to put up her finger. And of course, the chant became "fuck you." And then while the camera's just on her, the crowd, the Harris crowd, no, the Trump crowd is screaming, "Fuck you, suck my dick. Fuck you, suck my dick, suck my dick." And so it was very high class. And then, of course, the biggest insult of all, as somebody calls it, "You're not from New York." Okay. That's the behavior of MAGA. Okay. Now, the reason hey, everybody. Now, here's what, I think we all didn't know what to expect last night in the debate. I mean, we had an idea, right? But certainly based on Trump and his people, you expected it to be a non-civil affair. And I think the biggest shock, surprise, whatever, was the fact that if you were an alien and knew nothing about Vance or Walz and Trump, you would think they were pretty nice to each other, calling each other by their first name and stuff.
Well, certainly better than with Trump.
Well,
he
and
does.
that's the point. But I think, supporters speak volumes too. The second thing is, I've been critical and will continue to be of journalists. I tried not to be for as long as I could, simply because I was one and I know the difficulties of being it. CBS, I think, was a loser initially. Again, I'm talking before they go, because, of course, they said they would not be fact-checking in real time. Now, I took that to be they would not be fact-checking in real time, right? That's what they said. But did you notice what was on the bottom of your screen if you watched in CBS? Did you watch it on CBS, first of all?
Yes, I did. And I thought, I know they shut
The
the
bottom
mic
of your
on.
screen.
With the Chiron or something like that?
No, not the Chiron. Did you see what was in the bottom of your screen, right-hand side? I'll tell you.
I don't remember.
It was a QR code where if you loaded that in, it would fact check in real
okay.
time.
Fascinating.
Now, here's the problem. They didn't explain that. All right? To my knowledge, I figured it out, and I was at the crowd.
You think that was part of the agreement, just not to explain that?
I don't know. You know what I mean? And that's interesting. I tried to find out today more about it, and I couldn't, but it was there. But here's the problem. See, people watched it on all different channels, right? They watched it on line. They watched it, heard it on Sirius XM or whatever they listened to. It was simulcast. I know it was simulcast on ABC because Judy watched it on that. But nowhere on there did they have the QR code. It was only on CBS. So what would you guess? Maybe as much as 50%, at least 40% of the people, maybe more, had no fact-checking ability. And unfortunately, the old way of journalists not being involved is gone. You can't. You have to hold your subjects responsible when all they do is lie.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying just hold the Republicans or just hold, whatever.
And they
Hold-
did do that for Walz. They did press him on one of the
and
important
they
issues.
did on a couple, but still, overall, I was, I think it was almost like a double or triple disappointment. Don't first say you're not going to fact check, then do fact check, but don't let it go to everybody. So I think journalism as a business, or at least, no, it's at least the big boys, which would be CBS, ABC, MSNBC on the television side, and New York Times, Washington Post, LA Times, Chicago Tribune on the print side, are going to have to figure out a better way, because my belief is, even if Trump loses, we have not seen the end of MAGA. I am not one of those people that believe MAGA.
And that's an interesting question in itself, Dave. Whether they would latch on to him.
No, I
Afterwards.
think they've had their taste of power, right? It will be up to the Republicans to get rid of them, and I don't know how you do that. It's sort of like if you open the door to the devil, he's there with you.
Well, let's not leave this topic yet.
No, I'm fine.
If
Let's go with it.
Trump loses and he does his thing, he says, I got robbed and it was rigged. But if he does lose and it comes to the fact that, that Harris is president and that they're resigned to that fact, does he himself want to continue? Forget about them. Does he himself?
Who?
Is
Trump?
this Trump? Does he want to
No.
keep doing the same thing he did the last 4 years?
If he's elected or if he's not elected?
If he's not elected.
Not elected. Okay, no, he will not. He will try. He physically, mentally, emotionally can't do it. He just can't do it. But he will be emeritus maybe, in terms of still trying to. But I think in other words,
Well, then maybe it's the money thing. He'll kind of
Well,
focus on.
and that's where his focus is now. That's where his focus is now. I don't think it really matters to him, except for his ego, whether he wins or not, or his hatred and vengeance. I mean, I can't think of a more fitting, deserving outcome for Donald Trump than to be beaten not only by a black woman, but a black woman who's also Indian. So you've got an immigrant in a sense, right? You've got an African American, and you've got a female, all rolled up in one. None of those groups does Trump think is his equal. He doesn't even think other white males are. But so, and this will segue into something I want to talk about, and I'll do a little tease here. I think we saw last night the future of MAGA. I really do.
In
And
what
the
sense?
future. Okay, I'll do it this way. John Landau, who's a music critic, I don't know if any of you know him, he once famously said, saw a gentleman playing in a relatively small Boston club, and said, I have seen the future of rock and roll, and its name is Bruce Springsteen. Okay, and of course he was accurate, and he went on, and Landau was right. But I think last night, I'm going to go say, I think we've seen the future of MAGA, and its name is J.D. Vance. Now, of course, tonight I'll have to justify that, and of course I could be wrong, but we're going to go with that. So they were the two things that I thought were interesting going in. So let's jump into the debate itself. So I don't think it's surprising that you fell asleep, and I'm not joking now, I'm being serious. I did not expect the debate to be that, what shall I say?
Cordial?
Smooth and civil on the surface. There was not a moment where voices were raised last night to each candidate. There was a moment where there were voices raised to the moderators by of course, Mr. Vance. So what were your takeaways from the half hour that you saw? And quite honestly,
Well, what I saw with Walz, I thought he answered the questions well. I thought he did better than I thought he would, because I thought if they got too much into facts that he would kind of fall into this trap where he didn't remember this or that. But he was really good with his facts, and he was fine with that. I mean, there's still some things I wish he would have pressed further, but I think the only thing that bothered me was when they questioned him on the Tiananmen Square.
let's stop there. Let's stop there for a minute. Now, it has always amazed me not how politicians lie, because they do. I mean, that's something you do, or misrepresent, or shape, or put spin on it. But it's always amazed me how they lie about things we can verify so easily, right? Obviously, there are records on the date that Mr. Waltz, who was just Mr. then, arrived in China. We know he did there. We saw, he said that. But here's the problem. At one point, or at more than one point, he said he was there at Tiananmen Square when it happened.
I know he said he was in '89. He took his trip in '89.
But he did. But it was
and he
2 months
went off into
after
this other shit.
But well, look, I've been in Tiananmen Square too. Okay, but there were no tanks.
Right.
And so basically, what he did, for whatever reason, and he did not answer that question last night. I don't think it's a real important question, but he what do you say? He kind of said, well, I'm kind of a dunderhead sometimes, and that's true. But of course, there is a difference. He was not running or planning to run for political office at that time. So maybe he was just, kind of, as we all do, brushing up the resume a little bit or something. We don't know how. I thought that was when I heard the question, I said, oh shit. But he didn't hurt himself so much with the answer. He couldn't, I don't think he hurt himself so much. But the idea of it is,
it's the delivery. The delivery, Dave, was not what was really we needed. He just kind of ran around it,
But here's the thing. Remember, he's not trying to win the debate. He's just trying to be better than the other guy. And it depends on how you rate the debate. If you rate it on, sheer debating skills, presence, Vance runs away with it.
And by the way, I did say, Vance is an intelligent guy. Just like, say, Cruz is intelligent, but they're cunning. And I knew that it was going to be difficult for Walz because Vance was going to be a wordsmith and try to get around it, and meanwhile seem like he's just being very polite. But he was kind of passive aggressive against Kamala Harris.
Well, yes, of course. Well, he has that. Again, it's interesting. We all put things on people. Unless you're opposed to him, Walz is kind of an everyman. He certainly wanted, to be. A lot of people have said, a lot of young people said, "Man, I wish he were my dad," right? Or you've got him as, the uncle that you like, and that's his role, and he doesn't try to step out of it any more than that. I think there were some people, because he came up with the most effective word that has bothered Trump more than anything else this election. Weird. That's his, and he didn't repeat that last night at all. I honed, I didn't hear it. Maybe I missed it. So some people are thinking he didn't attack, because all of a sudden now we've got this attack mentality, right? It's what Trump does. Harris did it very well, okay? And still, and global, you're absolutely right. And I think each team did win, depending on what their goal was.
It didn't really go anywhere in the end, which was good for me. Let's still focus on Trump and Harris, because, Vance was dangerous, Dave. I mean, he is intelligent and he can lie his way around things, which he did.
Remember
he
what
obfuscated.
I said? Remember what I said in the beginning. The future of MAGA right now is J.D. Vance, okay? For some of those very reasons. But as you dig down into what happened, I thought the reason that I would give the debate overall, not on debating points, but just, who won the debate.
Right.
Tim Waltz won the debate, because this was the best meme I saw today. And I think it describes the whole thing. A lie is still a lie, even if you say it in Yale speak. That's a really pretty good description.
Right.
Vance lied consistently, in a nice way, right? Not demanding, except for a couple outbursts. That is true anti-guy. I think a lot of people, though, well, let me rephrase it. Pundits were looking at this, pundits are right. I don't care, anybody out there will argue all day with them and they're wrong. This is the most unusual election in the history of America. Nothing like this has ever happened. So we're all in this new area, right?
Right.
So there were pundits saying, this will be the one that matters. Well, it didn't. Anti-guys are 100% right. It didn't move the needle one iota.
It was a wash,
except,
in a certain sense. Political wash.
Except again, I didn't spend a lot of time today looking at it, but a few minutes. The news organizations bring in 5 supposedly independent voters. At this, who did that do anything for you? The only people who moved toward toward Walz. Nobody moved toward Vance. So personality, who do you want? The old, who do you want to drink a beer with?
Right.
Kind of thing. I think Walz could feel. The other thing is, the biggest thing you want to do is not lose points for your running mate. Neither one of them lost any points for the running mate. A third problem with this new MAGA style debating is some things that seem outlandish were actually a plus. A negative on one side, right? A negative to those of us who are opposed to MAGA. Probably a negative for those who haven't made up their mind, but a plus for the MAGites. And that was when Vance attacked, the two moderators. And he did it in, a couple of ways. He did it by trying to talk over them, right? Remember that? You
do think that was something that was strategic and planned the night
no question about it. But I think that's dumb planning, because the reason is that
and they were females, both females.
And that's another thing too. I think that was deliberate on CBS.
It doesn't look good when you do that.
It doesn't. And we even have a word for that now, mansplaining, right?
Mm-hmm.
And women, for Trump to win, he needs to get some more women to vote for him, and that definitely did. But at the same time, he can't have Vance appear to be wimpy. So that was a moment trying to solidify their base, but I think that was a bad way to do it. If you wanted to win, because he didn't. Now, the key moment to me, and this was also cited by the people who kind of moved over to the Walz side, was a very short exchange near the end. Walz asked, "Did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?" And Vance looked at him, Tim, nice, Tim, I'm focused on the future. Okay.
And that isn't running away from a question.
Walz gave the best. That's a damning non-answer. And it is a damning non-answer. That, if anything was costly last night, that was the most costly, because he wouldn't say, I would. There were people today that were, and they got toward the end about Pence, they wanted more of a tack dog from Walz, because traditionally that's the role of the vice president. He's supposed to, so far it's been all he's. Hopefully someday it'll be a she for president and she for vice president. But, that isn't the role this time for Walz. He shouldn't play it. He can't play it. He plays it in a different way. But that to me was, that, and the other one that I think was very telling and will cost Vance, as people reflect on it, is that response he had when, I forget which moderator, but one of them did kind of fact check him. He says, "I thought you weren't fact checking the debate." Think about that for a moment. If you're telling the truth, right? If anybody, you, me, whatever, why would we be upset about being fact checked? Only people upset about being fact checked are those who aren't telling the truth. Right. That's beyond common sense. I mean, now, again, that even might have been, that was a response, but that might have been a planned response in case it happened, because what that does to the base, they hate, the mainstream media, or the lamestream media, as they call them. And so that was just another example of, they're trying to push their guy, Vance, along. So, one of the other things, not original thought with me, but I thought was very good from taking that is, which Vance did we see last night? Which Vance was it? And this columnist went on to say there are actually 4 Vances that we've seen, in a relatively short period of time. First, there was Vance 1.0, and he was a writer and a hillbilly whisperer, with his book, Hillbilly Elegy. Anybody who knew Vance a few years ago knew him as the author of that book. That's all he was, right? But I guess he kind of got a political urge, and some people pushed him. And we're finding out right now who it was. It was Peter Thiel, who was, because Vance, he could try on. I was raised, he was a venture capitalist out in Silicon Valley, and and yes, he served in the military. That's great, and yes, he used that money to go to Yale and da da da. But so that's Vance 1.0, kind of this hillbilly.
What's with the eyes? I know we're getting. I've told you I don't like to do personal
you're talking
attacks
about
on appearance. I'm not like that, but I'm just saying from a curiosity viewpoint.
Well, the thing
hell
is
that?
They keep saying he wears eyeshadow. I only saw that in the beginning. What
or
are you
maybe
saying
it's
with the
something more permanent that they did, because you can do those kind of things.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, there is.
If you don't know, that's fine. I'm just.
No, I don't know. I'm just saying. But there is. I mean, you're not wrong. There is a lot of focus on his eyes. I mean, at first it was. The big thing was, does he wear eyeliner? Does he not wear eyeliner? If he does, why? And that was at the point, when his sexuality was being questioned early.
Mm-hmm.
And these things get thrown out. And that should have nothing to do. That should have nothing to do with anybody running for president. Nothing.
Right.
Unless
they take shots themselves.
They take shots at others. I.e., I believe that's one of the problems with Lindsey Graham, but that's a personal opinion of mine. Anyway, so Vance 2.0. So who was that? He was a never Trump pundit. That's what got him into politics. And you can go back and see time and time again back then what he said. He actually called him. I think the actual quote was, "He could be America's Hitler. I could see him being America's Hitler," and that was the path he was running down. But then, however, he leapfrogged into the Senate race. He suddenly moves into Vance 3.0, which is what we've been seeing so far in this. And I like this. He was described by this columnist as a MAGA edgelord. And I said, what the hell's an edgelord? I didn't know. I didn't know what that was, right? So I go and look it up. It's basically somebody who pushes, controversy and lies and that kind of thing. And last night, we saw the reasonable Vance 4.0, supposedly, but remember, still lying. Did he lie as much as Donald Trump? No, but who in the world lies as much as Donald Trump?
That's impossible to match.
Another thing that was prevalent today online was, I thought it was an interesting comparison. Yeah, he was kind of, he wasn't as bad as we thought he would be. And, he almost seemed charming, and he did. I mean, but they said, Ted Bundy appeared charming too before he.
Well, this is the problem with debates, because you have content and you have delivery, and
and there you
Biden
are.
had at times poor content, but mainly his problem was delivery. Right. Trump is just intense, so he has delivery, but he has no content, and it's a shame because we base the show on it's kind of like a beauty pageant.
Well,
how pretty is the person?
Unfortunately, that's exactly right. Well, I came back, I said that quick. I mean, who do you want to have a beer with? I don't want to have a beer. Well, I don't have a beer with any of them. I want to be president. I don't care, whoever is the president, I don't give a shit whether I want to have a beer with him or not. I want him to be able, or she, be able to run the country. I think, again, if the takeaway was pretty much, if you liked Waltz going in, you liked Waltz going out. With a couple minor, I wish he hadn't, or I wish he had. If you liked Vance going in, you liked Vance coming out. Yeah, well, of course not. Of course not. I mean, that's true. I know. And
and by the way, the Saudis, the Saudis did decrease production for Trump to try to get it Biden. But Biden outsmarted him by opening up the reserve. And then
correct.
All of a sudden Trump says, well, he depleted the reserve and left us in trouble, and that reserve has been replenished.
I'm gonna say something tonight that I have nothing to base it on other than the two individuals involved. I believe that when Netanyahu met with Trump, or previously or after that, Trump was able to convince him, or Netanyahu was able to convince, or whatever, that don't do anything right now, continue the war. We'll help you when we get there, and we'll finish it for you. I think that's there. And it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's happened twice before with the Republican Party. Richard Nixon's people went to Vietnam, to northern Vietnam, and said, do not do not do ceasefire. Do not do this. We will give you a better deal. Okay? And
I think there's more than that, Dave. I mean,
Ronald-
that's just my opinion. I think there's a
well,
lot more than that.
I understand that.
But you have more, because this isn't just Gaza. This is Iran. This
Right.
is Hezbollah. This is all proxy wars here.
I understand.
And it's hard to control
Okay, let me
what's
ask
going to
you
happen.
something. If Netanyahu tomorrow, if he wanted to, he could declare a ceasefire, correct?
Well,
Not saying he should.
Well, no, but yeah, you could say the same thing about Hamas. They could say, okay, we'll release the hostages and the war's over.
They're a terrorist organization. They're going to continue.
Well, no, but see, that's the point. They don't think they're terrorists. And a lot of the people who support them don't think they're terrorists.
Well,
I know in this
understand
part of the world we do, but over there they have great support, and they're they want to see dead Jews.
I think, well, and you being Jewish, that would have a
I'd be
more
dead.
effect on you. Yeah,
That'd be true.
yeah. No, I know, but I think Brian, what I was trying to say, and maybe I didn't state it well, that would not be the only reason that Netanyahu would do what he did.
Yeah, I mean, look. I'm not here to back Netanyahu on anything. It's just that I think in this situation, especially with Iran, whether he's what you think he's a war criminal, but he's not. He's not an honest guy. Criminal. But the thing is that in this situation, you have to do it. You have to do with Iran. You have to do it.
And all this, I kind of baited you in on this one, right? Okay. Really,
I'm just saying, really, Iran is something that's a problem.
I understand that. All right. But
the Middle East is a problem. I mean, it's a sixth part of the world.
Has been forever. And can America really change the Middle East? That's my question.
Well, part of it is what he said with Saudi Arabia, because this is all about money, and Saudi Arabia is part of the problem. Look, they're the ones that are responsible for 9/11.
Of course they are. They financed. Of course they did.
You know,
but there are look. You know, when you start getting over there, or even over here, you know, good guys, bad guys. What's what? I think the unfortunate thing is there will be Americans, primarily Palestinian Americans or PLO supporters, who are going to vote for Trump, which I think is as sad a case as a poor Southerner voting for Trump. In the fact that they're voting against their own self-interest. Is it really? I
mean, honestly, do you? I mean, I know what you've said. I mean, it might matter in Michigan, but it might not matter anyway. If Harris can win Pennsylvania and can win North Carolina, then Michigan doesn't become. I mean, we want to win Michigan, and I still think she can win in Michigan anyway.
I know, but suddenly you have a state where a large percentage of people, all I'm saying, is going to vote against their self-interest, because Harris would be better for the Palestinians.
And I have a problem with that, because that means that they're putting their personal grievances ahead of the country. There are many Jews who are going to vote for Kamala Harris over Trump, despite the fact that Trump is the kind of guy who puts the embassy in Jerusalem and all that. But the Palestinians have to put America first, not Gaza.
I don't disagree with you. I'm saying they're not. That's all I'm saying. They're not.
Well,
and I think it's really stupid, because Trump, if he gets on a roll, he's not going to stop with Mexicans. He's not. No,
he has no allegiance to any minority,
any other than himself, right? So, as we look, like I said, as we kind of move on to other areas around the debate, I think it's clear, and I'd love to see people, and maybe put a few more comments of some of the.
But can I interject? I think that
sure.
I said to Ronnie, I said, this whole thing with Iran attacking Israel with those ballistic missiles, I said, this is happening like 5 hours before the debate. So all of a sudden, this is going to get thrown in debate. And so the first question was about that. Right. And Walz had to be, he had to run he had to be on the tightrope. He had to support Israel because Israel's being attacked by intercontinental ballistic missiles. At the same time, he has to seem reasonable and he care about the situation going on in the Middle East. He could have potentially lost a lot of voters, because remember, most Americans definitely back Israel. You get half the Democrats, correct. You get all. So he needs those votes, and I think he did a great job, because in that sense, they could have done some real damage, Vance. I mean, the Republicans on that question, and I think he handled it well.
Now, since you do follow Israel more closely than I do, do I understand?
I don't know that I do, but I'll read.
Let me say this.
Jerusalem Post. I see what's going on, what the Israeli people feel.
If you do anything, you do more than I do. I mean, it's just not one of my priorities because It's
and I understand that it shouldn't be. Yeah. I mean, it really should.
But here's what I'm saying. Did I read correctly? Did I read or did I miss? There were no injuries in that attack from.
No, there was a death.
One death.
A Gazan. Well, hold it. I want to ask you a question because this gets into that thing, and we've talked about this before. Right. If somebody shoots you and misses and attempts the murder,
still
do you exculpate? Exculpate.
I'm not exculpating.
No. There were intercontinental ballistic missiles that were shot down. Had they gotten through, they would have. So.
And had you not fallen asleep, you would have seen the whole.
No, I understand. I'm just saying you can't. You can't see that this is a victory simply because they missed the shots.
Stop. You're way not following what I'm saying.
Let me ask you this. If Mexico had shot intercontinental ballistics and they missed, they sent 220 missiles.
You would fire them back. But you don't listen to what I'm saying, all right?
I'm trying to find out.
Well, I'm being very clear. It's just you have a block with Israel. You do. So clear your block.
No, I'm talking logic here. This has nothing to do with the fact that I back Israel.
Shut up, Spock.
Just say it.
Here's what I'm saying. It amazes me that they fired. We'll use your number, 225 ballistic missiles, and you saw them in the sky. There were a hell of a lot coming through.
Oh yes, and some got through.
And that says, but most of them did not. That amazes me that Israel's able to defend itself that way. That's what I'm trying to say. And you're twisting it.
That's called an Iron Dome. I mean, yeah, that's intelligence.
It is intelligent. All right. My point is that if I were Iran, unless all they want to do is show their muscle, they really have their work cut out for them to fight Israel.
Right, because they know that we send 220. So what if they send 220? And that fact when Israel did attack them, after they were attacked, they hit
damage.
They hit,
and so what I'm saying is, and I got the impression you thought I was attacking Israel, I attacked.
No, I wasn't saying that, Dave. What I'm saying is there is a certain logic, and I even heard the spokesperson for Biden say this was a victory. He tried to term it as like there was a war and Israel had a victory. It's not a victory. Like it's to say that, for example, again, we go back to this analogy. If somebody shoots at you and misses, somehow that you defeated them. No, it was a bad shot. And the intent is still there to kill.
That's not on the, of course, that is. I mean, that goes without saying. But it's still pretty damn impressive with 225 missiles, that more didn't strike, that Israel did a damn good job.
Well, right? That's a necessity. It has to work because you've become the size of it.
Oh my God!
No, I'm just saying. I'm making a comment. I'm not. This is not as an Israeli backer. I'm saying anybody who has a country that small, you cannot afford to lose, or you're done.
True, but yes, some got through. I don't know how many. I mean, I'm sure the Israelis have a number, but the problem becomes all of this. Even our talking about it, which again I kind of baited you into. Does it really, really, really move to the number one?
I don't think so.
No. Does it really move to the number one concern Americans should have?
It should. I don't think it should. So. It's not. And believe me, it's not my major concern. My major concern is Trump and get that motherfucker out. Because that's right. Everything, everything pales in comparison.
My point is because the Palestinian supporters, most of whom are young, don't understand that America will be better off without Donald Trump in the lead. They will be better off.
And they should understand. Why don't they understand that?
Because they see that
we can't make excuses for them.
Oh, You asked how, and then I'm going to tell you why. And
Okay, I'm just saying there's a lot of excuses for that. They've got to understand that it's basic logic. It's you got to vote for Harris.
They hate Israel, and they love their terrorists.
Yes,
That's
a
all.
problem.
Well, I know you're not going to solve that. I'm not going to solve that. America's not going to solve that.
No, but I'm just saying in general in that part of the world, how people say, well, you've said yourself, like in Saudi Arabia, well, you said Michael said, well, they're getting better at this, and maybe they're letting the women drive. We should be at a point in this world where we don't accept this. You have to learn that there are certain accepted behaviors in the world, and the United States is exemplary. Aside from Trump, this is the way things should be done in a democracy, and women should have the right to vote. People should be able to dress the way they want. They should, if they're gay, if you're gay in Gaza, you can be killed.
All right, let's turn it around. Okay, would you? And I'm just playing a game here. Would you want another country telling you how you have to behave?
Yes. If I was acting like an asshole and I was, absolutely.
But then, Brian, they don't know they don't know that they're acting like an asshole. They are.
Well, they find out. It's like that fuck around and find out.
And how are they going to find out?
I'll tell you what they can find out. And I think this is part of the problem, Dave, just quite logically. I think part of the problem, and Joe Teklitz had mentioned this, I thought he's right. And Joe, it's jealousy because they believe that they're the final religion.
Correct.
The final correct, and you can't deny that. And one thing that is just incomprehensible to them is why is this country here doing so much better than us? They're defeating us at wars. Their economy's stronger. Why aren't we number one if our God is better than theirs? You know what I mean? Because it's cognitive dissonance. And at some point you have to tell them, well, it's the problem itself is religion. You've got it all wrong.
Not going to happen.
Well, it happened in Japan at the end of 45. I'm not saying use nuclear weapons.
Yes, you are. You just said that.
No. I'm saying force. At that point, force is the only thing. We had to do that to Hitler. We had to do it to Japan. We had to do it to Japan. And look at what Japan has become. And they have completely changed.
But
they are fantastic. And even Germany's fantastic. We had to bomb the shit out of Germany.
I'd be careful. There's with the right.
They might be the right wing, but Germany in general has been exemplary. And they learned from force. They said, now, what did Stalin do? Let's just get off the Israel thing. But listen to what happened with Stalin. When Stalin heard that we detonated the bomb, they weren't going to be backing us against the Japanese in Mongolia. And as soon as we had the bomb, he said, that's the side I want to be on, which shows you there is a respect for force.
But see, I do. And I'm not only, but I think the respect.
And by the way, I'm answering your question with Christopher Hitchens. Christopher Hitchens says at some point you have to tell the Muslim world that you're going to have your God versus our army. And you're going to see who's going to win. And when they get that, I'm not talking about God, I'm just taking in general, religious nuts. If they realize that the army is stronger than their God, they're going to be like Stalin and say, that's the side I want to be on. And I don't like it, but there's no other recourse, Dave. If people are...
Here's why I think we're, it's not a completely apt analogy. Japan attacked us, correct?
Absolutely attacked us.
All right. And that was a country.
And they brutalized our soldiers and the British soldiers.
Okay.
And there's nothing for you to get upset up there. It happened. You're on our side, right? United States soldiers, British soldiers.
I'm leading
brutalized.
to a point.
Okay.
You agree that Japan attacked us?
That's without a doubt.
Stop. That's all I want to know. Now, we had a responsibility to strike back. And we did. Germany did not attack us, but it was attacking allies, and it was clear that they would not stop. I wish we'd been a little bit more.
They had a pact. They didn't want to fight us at that time. But they, by their, look, they're part of an axis. They were required to.
It doesn't matter. They declared war also against us, even though they didn't attack us. Would you agree?
I have no doubt about it. That's a historical fact.
Okay. Now
We would have gone after them eventually anyway.
The problem, as I see it, is that was clear and easy, and we can debate all day whether we should have dropped the nuclear bomb or not, and it doesn't matter because it was done. But the difference is the attacks that we got so far from the Arab world were a terrorist group financed by a country that we're in bed with financially. So who do we run an attack? And if we do, we damn well better not end up in a quagmire like we did in Afghanistan.
Right, you got to win. You got to win.
And I don't know any way to. I mean, and I'm just me personally. I'm not convinced that because of the differences between World War II and the attack and what was done here, I'm not convinced that that's necessarily the right way.
I'll tell you what's going to solve it. Here, you're not going to believe me.
I will.
I think within the next 100 years, because of climate change, nobody's going to live in the Middle East anyway, and they're going to, and they're already moving. And this is what's. If you think there's a problem between the clash of religions in the Middle East, and we include Christianity there, by the way, because a lot of Christians that want to kill Muslims, believe me, in this country.
Oh yeah.
Especially after 9/11, and that's still there. But you already see this massive movement of the Islamic world into Europe, and you're starting to see, because it's not really meshing the way that one would think it is, and you're seeing this backlash in England. They want them out. Germany, they want the Turks out, and in a certain sense, we get it too, because like you're coming to a democracy, and all of a sudden now you're saying that, okay, we're going to have Sharia law. This is not you come here, you live by our, you put on the Eagles uniform, you play with the coach, and that's it.
No argument with all that. Right. And I think that's
just going to change it. I don't know if that's going to be for the better or the worse, because that's where you're going to see the problem. It's going to be like 600 years ago, Dave. Well, it's not going to be Israel against the Arabs. It's going to be Christians against the Arabs. Or not the Arabs, Islam, because I don't want to say Arabs.
We don't spend a lot of time on climate change in this show, although we agree 100%, and that's why we don't actually have to talk about it much. But I think, again, and this you saw what the first question was. The second question was about the situation from the hurricane, and that is climate change.
Issue, right? And there's another issue.
Now, here's something that I thought I didn't think of until this morning. In North Carolina, how the hell are they going to vote?
That's a great question, because we have 30 some days left, and you can't get cell phone service except for Trump asking for Musk to put
Starlink. Well, of course,
right, and to come off as a hero,
Yeah. So you've got real problems. I mean, and yes, of course, the first problem is, we mourn the death of those who died.
Well, let's just say it's Western North Carolina. I think it might benefit Harris, because in the Western, that's near Tennessee. That's going to hurt Trump.
Brian, you're absolutely right. That's the next point.
Right. I've been in those mountains with those people. They're fucked up. They treat their dogs like shit.
But the point is, so what can Trump do? Because that his camp is saying, we got to do something. Well, what can you do? I mean, do you fly them out? Now, here's another one. What was that? How many hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of people, their home is gone. They're living in a temporary shelter. What do they use for their address?
Good friends. We have a good friend who lives up in the mountain. She said she won't have electricity for at least a month. She has no running water. She has no electricity. She lives on the second highest mountain in North Carolina. It's near Tennessee, and I mean, they live like mountain people. I mean, I don't know how they're
they are. Now, what a thing that interests me about this, besides the election thing, is the fact that, quite honestly, how the joke, not a joke, but how you say I didn't have that on my bingo card. Right. I didn't have a hurricane causing that much damage that far inland in the mountains, where supposedly that's something that shouldn't be. And what that says is climate change is everywhere,
making it happen. Because the rain you had 3 feet of rain, and that's a bathtub now, because you get mountains on each side of you. Asheville we were in Asheville.
Yeah, I know, and I've been to Asheville a couple times too.
I wouldn't want to go there now, that's for sure.
No, so but again, Yet we'll
Beautiful
have
city.
we have Trump, whose point was, well, we'll just have more waterfront property. No, Mr. Trump, that's not what we're going to have.
I think Walz said that too, didn't he, during the debate? He mentioned
He started mentioning that. Of course, it is interesting too. All of a sudden, Republican leaders in those states they're ready for some socialism. They'll take some federal dollars.
Absolutely.
And
they'll try to twist it around.
And exactly. So, in this strange election, over strange ideas with some weird people, Trump being, I mean, how can you? It's almost like he went out and said, "Let's establish the weird team. Let me see. Who do I need? I want JD. I'll take him. Hey, give me. Oh, you know who I need? I need Elon Musk. Give me Elon Musk. Oh yeah, I want Robert Kennedy. I take Kristi Noem, but I got Laura Loomer though. It's like, and it's so clear and so obvious that he is bad for everything, and yet we're sitting here tonight, and I cannot predict. I cannot predict with certainty that Harris will win. I think she will win the popular vote. I do believe that.
Right. She'll win by 7 or 8.
And I will say this, and I'm not hedging my bets. If there is a runaway, Harris will run away with it. Trump will not run away with it.
How about in Texas with the Senate
well,
race there?
you know what? Remember Beto O'Rourke? Everybody was high on him.
And they have a Republican governor, Abbott, who's willing to do anything.
Abbott is as bad. Maybe
As
he's
any
worse even. Maybe he's as bad as or worse than DeSantis.
Yes,
definitely.
He gets away with it because he wasn't like in the limelight.
Well, he's an old man,
except for whatever the shooting.
Well, the border, right? That kind of thing.
Right.
So as we begin to wrap up, I wanted to pick up where I started with one thing about Vance. As I said, I think the American people won last night in a certain way, where it was a return to civility, a shocking return, right? I mean, forget about the lies. That's all. But did you really expect it would be civil? I didn't. Not at all.
I thought that it would have looked bad if Vance had. I don't think Vance can be like Trump in terms of the delivery. So they probably said, just let him be himself. He's smart. He can twist the truth. Let him do his little magic, and then he did.
And I think, and that makes a good point. But have you looked at Trump was tweeting? Well, Xing.
I don't know what Trump did with that, but I imagine.
True Social, he was doing. But in the middle, he talked about Pete Rose. I mean, he just can't stay focused on anything. But I have to wonder, him sitting there, and then today hearing the accolades, and it was pretty divided out there who won that debate, and the absolute answer is nobody, and nobody really lost it. But that's not the way it, spit out. Vance, and then getting this idea of Vance as the way MAGA should run. MAGA ideas with tempered, and with a slimy, sleazy, but well-spoken and intelligent person. And I've always said, we're just so fortunate that Trump is as dumb as he is. My God, right. If he had any sense, he wouldn't, keep shooting himself in the foot.
Which potentially makes someone like Vance a lot more dangerous.
And last night I went. Our Divided We Stand family will be hearing more about that. We've started another group similar to Divided We Stand here in Washington, called In Black and White, and we had run a couple of things.
Is that like an alluding to a metaphor for newspaper, like Black and White?
It's a number of things. I don't want to type the time now. I'll just give you the quick version. It's kind of three things. Yes, it's news was black and white and should have been truth. Black and white, it's in black and white. That's supposed to be truth. And then the co-founders, I'm white, and the other co-founder is black. So there'll also be racial things in there. But the same idea. We are we're going to attack the things that are divided, but focusing just on DC proper, where we are. But so most everybody there last night had some involvement with politics, and a couple, were nobody was there that was like a candidate or a representative, but a lot of people from offices, congressional offices, and they're convinced, and these, that they talk to Republicans because they're next door. and they are convinced that Trump is seriously fading.
And fading in
and
what
they've been-
sense? In terms of the vote or
No, mentally,
mentally?
to where they're even more concerned now that you're going to put.
No, I don't know. I mean, and because he's so fucked up, you can't tell. Like it's like fucked up squared versus fucked up. You know, like how can you compare two scars like that?
No, I know, but that seems
now it's difficult.
That seems to be the take of Republicans who will actually talk to Democrats, right? And that's at the aide level, the lower levels, not at the top. But even some Democratic congressmen have alluded to the fact that the Republicans congressmen are terrified. Not terrified. I mean, it's too late to do anything about it.
Well, by the way, I don't know if you saw MSNBC. Ari Melber was interviewing Peter Navarro, who apparently must have just gotten out of jail. And they had that Gordon Souderman or whatever, the guy who testified during and all of a sudden he did a 180, and now he's saying I would never vote for Democrat, and what the policies that Biden and Harris have are much worse than what Trump did, and I could not believe what I was hearing, and even when John Kasich was better, he kind of defended the idea that Trump is just off the wall, but he didn't come out and say that he didn't say he endorsed Harris. So there is this. If you've
noticed pretty much who has endorsed Harris, Mitt Romney,
the ones who've been attacked by their own have decided.
Yes, and Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney, they attacked his daughter. But I don't know what kind of power they have, in the Republican Party. I mean, this is scary to think of. But does Marjorie Taylor Greene, although she's in a war with Laura Loomer, and that was playing out interestingly, but let's just take Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert or Katie Britt or any of this. Do they actually have more power with the Republican MAGA constituency than Mitt Romney and Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney? And I think
that's frightening, Dave. That is
clearly obvious, and that's what it is. Now, again, my belief is that there's multiple types of MAGA. The ones that I despise the most are those who are just using it for their own power.
Well, let me. And this is going to get kind of sordid.
No, go ahead.
Because we joke about sordid things a lot on the show every once in a while. Do you think there's any type of sexual this or that with those women, like the Boeberts and the Marjorie Taylor Greenes and Ernst, Joni Ernst, whatever it is, that is affecting these male voters at all? I don't know. I'm not a
I think that's an excellent question. Let's look at that for a moment.
Because there is this visual, this idea. Yes. Look what she did to her man in the movie theater. And then they're vicarious, and I mean, this is sick. This is really sick. But how many Republican guys do you think masturbated to the idea that they would be in a theater with Lauren Boebert?
A lot more than Democratic guys did with Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
And I admire Elizabeth Warren. I supported her when she ran. But no, I think you're really onto something there, Brian. Right. I think now here's one. I'm going to twist it not another way, not against yours, because I agree 100% with yours. I would bet you that no MAGA, supporter in Tennessee or Alabama or Montana or wherever has read fully Project 2025.
Right.
I also believe that they bought into the absolute lie that is not true. That is the blueprint for government for anybody, a Republican who takes over. Okay?
Right.
And one that's interesting, this is kind of a joke, but it's true. If you travel through the South, and of course with my family living there forever, I've been through lots of places in the South, and there's really three things that you come across a lot. One is churches, okay? Quite a few churches, big and small. And then you have gun stores, a lot of gun shops. And the third is our adult bookstores. Now, you could say, how do they... but here's the thing. What's banned in Project 2025?
Adult bookstores.
Pornography, yes. And remember, part of 2025 is you do not have the First Amendment anymore under that. You do not. because the First Amendment in Project 2025 is counterproductive to the way America should be, whether it's religion, press, free speech, protest. So
Yeah, well, see, that's a big problem because, I'm not, endorsing pornography everywhere, but when you suppress things that you live with every day of your life, it runs into real dangers.
And here's the other thing.
And this is where you get this crazy shit in the Middle East. You get the crazy shit here. You're suppressing sex. When the minute you start suppressing that shit, bad things happen.
You're absolutely right, Brian. Now, the other thing that's going to be interesting how it plays out in this election, and again, we've never had this. Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, whomever he goes by now, he's in some serious trouble. I'm glad he is.
He certainly is.
But notice how it's being tied into politics. Trump has already reposted a picture of Kamala Harris with Puff Daddy that was falsely generated. But there are pictures of a lot of people with him. Well, and Donald Trump being one. So, fame goes with fame, money goes with money, fame, that kind of thing. So it's not unusual that they would be there. But of course, the next step is, they were part of, Obama and or Barack and Michelle have already been linked as being part of the sex, because again, these crazies think that everybody. I mean, they really believe that there is a pedophilic, drug trafficking, baby killing group in the Democratic Party. And the one that I always keep coming back to, which is just so weird, is the one that's local for me, Pizzagate. I mean, I've been in Comet Ping Pong most as many times I've been in Big John's Pizza in Bridgeton, and it isn't true. I would tell you if it was true. And the main reason is it happened in a basement, and there's no basement there. I mean, and even the guy who came with the gun to shoot it up and save the kids, he even admits there's nothing there. But Pizzagate, these things will not die, and they attach to politics, and that what we should be talking about is what are Trump's policies, what are Harris's policies on one level, then is what the candidates say true, and we know that Harris and Walz, as politicians will do, will misstate or kind of slant or spin things, but Trump had, 600,000 lies or something he told.
Right. I see at this point, Dave, I mean, I know what you're saying, because obviously we should be discussing policy and things like that. But we don't. I think we have to look at it from like 30,000 feet and say, just in general, if you even get away from the politics, you're looking at human beings in general. And for the most part, human beings, you take the cell phone away, and for most people, we're no different than 10,000 years ago. It's human beings are just dangerous bombs.
You know what was funny, Brian? And you should mention that. And this isn't an accurate survey, but I said Hosea, who's the co-founder of In Black and White with me, he was with his group. I was sitting with a group of young people that I want to work with, watching. And Hosea's group was my age, right? And I'm his age, and we're there. But we were the only people not on our cell phones watching. Every young person there, it's just become second nature, right? And I don't know if that's bad or good or whatever. I'm not.
No, I'm just saying that just in general with human beings, it's such a need machine, and when whether it's sexual needs, whether it's needs for food, whatever, it's a greedy DNA machine, and I've become very depressed. Not so much now. I mean, the politics make us depressed. You and I get really down about what's happened. But Dave, I'm getting closer to the point where I'm saying, how you say there's nothing we can do about these situations in the Middle East. I don't think there's anything we can do about the situation with human beings. I mean, it's very defeatist. But I'm not going to be a Pollyanna guy about this.
I don't think it is defeatist, Brian. I think when you start talking about the two things that could maybe augment that, you're talking about faith and you're talking about hope and all the things. But faith and hope are not certainties. They're not, okay? And what is certain is there is a darkness to the human condition that is there, has been there since the beginning of time. And, my thing is always, I've said it before, I still believe it. In the end, evil eats itself. But a hell of a lot of people, like 7 million people in Europe, suffered while that evil was eating itself.
And that's the problem. We're going to suffer.
and that's not right. It's the same thing with climate change. It's not going to be the wealthy that suffer first. I mean, they're going
Right.
to suffer.
That's why they don't care what happens with the Supreme Court, because they're a gated community. They can get their abortion. They can do anything they want and
so
get
that's
away
another
with it.
thing. That's another thing too. You've seen the memes and the thing. You can ban abortion. You don't ban abortion. You ban safe abortion.
Right.
That's what you ban.
Here.
So again, the standard question to leave you with, and I'll let you go first. This is a midweek show, so but we'll do it midweek. Based on what you know as of tonight, your thoughts just about the election, about America.
As
about
somebody said
condition.
in the chat, Dave, I don't think the needle changed one bit after last night.
Right.
And I'll keep saying this. I think she has enough votes. I think he's really worried about Philadelphia because he mentioned Philadelphia 3 nights ago.
Mhm.
It's the same thing he mentioned in the 2020 election. I think there's enough in Pennsylvania to put him over, put her over. And again, it's the same thing. We're going to be facing some real motherfuckers. So I think Joe Biden is not done. And
I would agree with you.
It's going to get ugly, but the question, how far will Biden see? This is, you're not going to get any help from Merrick Garland. Okay. By the way, if I can just say before I think one of the first things that she should do is fire that motherfucker's ass
Before she even takes the office.
I don't care. Just get him out. Do whatever you have to. He has caused so many problems by his lack of
whatever.
aggressive. Yeah, he's bad. So that, and I'll leave it at that.
You get no disagreement. Remember, I was the one who said, well, let's give him some time. We gave him time, and he's still
Right.
bad. So I have no problem with that.
Right.
I'm going to... I'm not ducking the question, but I'm going to do it this way. How do I feel? As most of the people on this show know, most of the people there, I wear every day, I wear an anti-Trump, I only have one pro-Harris, because I'm more anti-Trump than I am pro-Harris. It's one and the same thing. But anyway, so I get... it's interesting, the reactions. And a lot of times it is kind of a neat conversation starter where people will come up and they'll say, I like your shirt, and, or something, and we'll begin talking. So I ran into a group of 3 young women. When I say, of course, I'm 72, so everybody's young to me. I would say in their 30s, all involved in your area of environmental protection, survival, right? And they were just representative of my 3 thoughts of mind. One was, there's absolutely no way Harris has it locked up. She's good to go. One of the women said that. Another woman said, boy, I'd like to do that, but I'm just plainly terrified of the alternative. And then the third said, I don't know, it's just too close to call. And for me, it vacillates almost with the hour. I know that I would urge people to do a couple things. I've done it before. I try to do it every show. Don't look at polls. Don't look at them. I know. I talked to a friend today, and she said, I know you said not to do that, but I'm drawn to them. So
Right.
I understand. But really, polls are meaningless. They really are, especially in the modern age. All right. They're an indication of where things may be on one particular day. That's all. Secondly, figure out, is there any way that you could get, and I'm that Judy and I are going to work on this when we're going to Florida, just to hang out and be away from people for 3 days. And that's what we're going to work on. Where do we want to send our money for the
Right.
for the best help? And also, can we think of anybody that we know who's undecided and we might have a chance of swaying? That's very difficult. I don't know of it. I mean, we're going to really have to dig deep on that to find somebody. But that's another thing we can do. I'm
thinking about Texas. I'm thinking, maybe.
I think that's a very wise. I think that's a very wise.
And then
investment.
one to Harris, just in general.
Originally, and I'm sorry, John Tester, your chances of winning.
If we can make it up in Texas,
you can't.
Fine.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm just saying. But I mean, going into this, I thought Tester, but no, not now. I think Texas is very good money. I think, North Carolina, that's a done deal for the seat. Mark Robinson can't. If he wins, then it's over for America.
Well, that's kind of what happened in Arizona when that lunatic was running, and he had relations with a teenage kid.
Oh yeah.
Forget his
I
name.
don't think I'll contribute to Lauren Boebert. I don't know. And yet there are some optimistic things out there, Brian. I think, again, it's spin all that, but I think there is a chance. I think there's a real chance that the Democrats may take the House. I really do.
Well, that would be good enough for me. You get the presidency in the House.
But I don't, I don't know that we can get the presidency because of what we're.
Right, well,
I'm more confident about the House and the Senate. I'm afraid, unless we get the Florida miracle and the Texas miracle, because you've lost West Virginia, which was a Democratic seat,
and it's tough to do that with two governors who are Republicans.
Exactly.
And MAGA Republicans.
So
the line will cheat.
So I assume we can tell everybody that we're on again for Sunday.
Sunday, definitely.
And
Definitely
thank you for being there, and thank you for understanding that the reason, if you don't know the reason, I put it on Facebook why Brian was late tonight. It was he was laundering. He was ironing his underwear. He always irons his underwear, and sometimes actually one time it got a little kinky. We were over there, and he was kind of intimating that his wife should iron his underwear, which is fine, but he wanted to be in them. So I don't even know what that was about.
All right, this is getting sorted here again.
And then the other thing was, ladies and gentlemen, he needed to be refreshed by looking at his mentor, his idol, his political guru. He had missed today's episode of SpongeBob SquarePants. So
I've never watched SpongeBob in my life. I know what the yellow thing looks like, but I'm not a cartoon guy. All right, Dave.
Of course, deny.
Deny.
Right,
Yeah,
Brian.
okay.
Thank you everyone for being with us.
Sunday, 8 o'clock.
That sounds like a win
all right,
for
Dave.
me.
Take care. Tell Jude I said hello. All right.
And tell Ronnie I said the same.
I will do it.